Hi everyone, new art journal page. Okay, so with this one I started with my Prima journal page, which is just a craft piece of paper, and I used a little bit of Mod Podge. I finally got more Mod Podge, and I'm using the Mod Podge matte, and I'm gluing down some book text. And this particular book text is the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure. Federal rule books are really good for gluing down because they become kind of opaque. So you'll see a lot more of this. So if you happen to come across one, make sure you pick it up. So, plus, you never know, you might learn something about the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure. So I'm also gluing down bits and pieces of iCads that I've made over the past. And I just torn them in bits and gluing them down. So I'm just collaging just to get a little bit of a background going. A little bit more rule book on the other side. And then I had a little scrap of Tim Holtz tissue wrap, and I used that. And this is a little bit of scrapbook paper. I want to say it's an authentique paper. I'm not positive though. It was just in my scraps. I'm pretty sure it was authentique though. Don't quote me. So then, yeah, I had some of these paper towels left on my table, and I'm like, oh, well, let's glue them down. Why waste, right? So I decided to glue those down. And in this video, you're going to see I'm going to use a lot of the Donna Salazar mixed media inks. They're made by Clear Snap, and they're really, really cool if you have not yet used them. I'm still gluing down stuff so I can keep talking. So these inks are really, really neat. It's INX, the mixed MIX''D media inks. Again, they're by Donna Salazar and Clear Snap. They are a pigment ink, and P.S. I'm putting down clear gesso so that the ink had something to grip to. They are super juicy. Imagine Tim Holtz Distress ink meets Tim Holtz Distress paint. Kind of right in the middle is where these mixed media inks live. If you see how juicy they are just by me touching just a little tiny bit onto this kind of non-porous surface, you'll see just how juicy they are. Yeah, they're really cool. I cannot say enough cool stuff about these. So, I'm going in with, I used the Peaches, which is that pinkish coral color, and then the blue color is, I have them all right here, Peridot, and I think I used Leather, which is the brown. Yeah, Leather's the brown. And is that all the colors I used? I think that's all the colors I used on this particular page. So when they're wet on a non-porous surface, they won't dry. So I used UTEE, which is Ultra Thick Embossing Enamel, which is just a super, super chunky embossing powder. Covered all of the inks with the embossing powder and then dried it. And it turns it into this super grungy, chunky, glassy looking effect. So it's really cool. So the mixed media inks by Donna Salazar are great for embossing. So then I took a handmade stencil with a Heidi Swap color shine color. I want to say this is Black Velvet. And I sprayed it over the top. Now, I knew that the stuff underneath was non-porous, so I wiped a little bit away and then heat set it. And the heat setting, what that does is it melts the color into the embossing powder. So then I took a little bit more of that book text, and I think I colored it up. My computer monitor just froze. Let's see. Okay, so I used some of that Peridot mixed media inks and a little bit of water just to get it moving, and colored up that book text, and then as you can see I ironed it out. Excuse me, I have my rubber bands in, so it's a little bit harder to talk. This is my faux resin paper technique, which you should have seen by this point, and just a little bit of beeswax, which seals in the mixed media inks, and it also turns the paper see-through. Now, as you saw, I glued down that little bit of paper, and I ripped some canvas. I bought this canvas. It was a canvas drop cloth from the hardware store. And so I just ripped a piece off of the giant piece I had, and then used some of the peaches color, dried it a little bit with my heat gun, and then dipped it in my embossing powder. Now, when embossing powder gets dried into fabric, usually it soaks right in, which was okay in this particular instance. I just wanted the ink to set, so I didn't necessarily want the gloss finish of the embossing powder. So that worked out pretty well. I'm really, really happy with how that came out. This page comes out super grungy, which I'm really happy with. I like grungy look, if you haven't yet figured that out. So now I'm using some Wow Studio, since I'm saying so much. Wow Studio, this is the Chevron Confetti and the Peridot Mixed Media Inks by Donna Salazar, and then I'm dipping them into the UTEE, which is again Ultra Thick Embossing Enamel, and drying them, which makes them look like enamel pieces. It's really, really cool. I wish you could see them in person. And then I'm just gluing the pieces down. Now, I will let you know I did get a couple of these inks free from Donna Salazar. She sent them to me and asked if I would use them in my video. She would send them to me, so I will let you know that it's kind of sponsored. But that being said, these inks are so cool. And I did spray through my letter stencil with a little bit of, I think, acrylic, and then dried it, so that way you can just see kind of some texture. This is a photo of me in Lake Havasu in a telephone box, and the colors just happened to go really well, so I decided to use this and inked up the edges with the same with peaches and the peridot. And again, getting back to kind of being sponsored, Donna told me that she would send me some of her used class sample pads if I would use them in a video. And first of all, I'd like to say thank you to Donna, because the ink pads are incredible. And I would also like to say thank you to Kelly, who is a local friend of mine, who years ago told me to try the Donna Salazar inks, and I got a couple of them, and I didn't really know what to do with them, so I didn't really use them that often. You may have seen them now and again, but for the most part I didn't use them that often. And I'm popping that picture up on foam tape. So, thank you, ladies. Especially Donna for the generous donation. So I am going in, this is an iCAD, and I am going in with the Peridot color, which had a little bit of, as you can see, schmutz on it. So I'm just kind of A, cleaning it off, and B, creating a new color. And I held my phone up just there because Gaga's song Telephone came on. And when I saw that the song had come on and I was using a picture of me that said telephone, I was like, oh, I'm still using the lyrics. So I spelled out, I don't want to talk anymore, using a mini alphabet stamp set. Eventually. These things, they take a long time. They're really great to create titles, but good God almighty, they take forever. So then I ripped it out and then used peaches around the edge, again to tie in all those colors. And then I used leather to go right around the edge, and then foam tape to pop it up. I folded it over on itself so it was double thick. My only complaint with the Donna Salazar Mixed Media inks is that the containers, they're stackable. If you do stack them, the lid comes off on the one above it. That's my only complaint with these inks, because otherwise they're so fun. Seriously, it's like, by the way, that's archival ink around the edges. And here's all the still shots. My only complaint, oh, and yeah, stitching right there. So my only complaint is that the lids stick to the color above it. But other than that, it's like paint mixed with ink. It's so freaking cool. So totally suggest you give those a shot and play with them. Look how fun that is. So, hope you like this page. Feel free to like, subscribe, check me out on Facebook, all that jazz. Talk to you guys later. Bye.